8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another live episode of Teachers for Teachers. That's you, moms and dads. I'm Dr. Jana, and I'm here with Dr. Leah. And hello, it is Monday.
It is Monday, and along with a new week, we got some news in our region that LAUSD is not going back to school this fall. So, the moms and dads slash teachers, we are trying hard to be here to support you. And on Mondays, what we're working on are ideas of what other parents are doing, and we have our fabulous panel with us, and we have some guests. So, why don't we get right into it, Dejana?
All
Why don't you
right,
introduce the panel?
absolutely. Again, joining us for this wonderful conversation, we have Dr. Marcella Klein Williams. An accomplished leader, Williams' strengths include organizational development, systems design, and strategic partnerships. She has led an impressive career in both teaching and administration from preschool through the graduate level. Serves as regional director of the Ventura County Office of Education, chief education officer for California STEM Learning Network, and the director of special projects for Somas Unified School District. Welcome, welcome, Marcella. Happy to have you back. Also joining us, we have Anne McMullen. Anne is an education consultant based in Los Angeles. She works throughout the United States and internationally as a public speaker, writer, and consultant with a focus on leadership. Project director for COSIN's Empowered Superintendents Program and the author of Life Lessons in Leadership. Welcome, Anne. Also joining us is Jamie Wagner. Jamie is a fifth grade teacher and math specialist at her local school. She has a triple master's degree in psychology, education, and marriage and family therapy. She applies all those degrees as a teacher, a therapist, and especially as a parent and wife. Welcome, Jamie. And lastly, rounding up our list today, we have Mark Riddle. Dr. Mark Riddle has a PhD in sociology from the University of California and serves as the University Director of Educational Effectiveness for West Coast University. This is an institution dedicated to educating healthcare professionals. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, but wait, too, we have
And
someone who joined us last
yeah,
minute
we got
who has been absent for the last few weeks. So, Tim Griffin is with us, and Tim is the founder of Griffin Ed, whose goal is to put K through 8 curriculum to music, and he's doing a great job toward that. And he helps us with a lot of the fun stuff to do over the weekend. But also, we want to go back and let Anne introduce our guest today.
Well, thank you so much. It's just a thrill, first of all, to have the whole gang back together again. Tim, welcome back. We have missed you, so it's good to have you here. And I know you will enjoy the person I'm about to introduce to you as well. It is my absolute delight to introduce to you Stephen Rippey. And I have to tell you, I have known Stephen. I promised I wouldn't tell all the stories, but I have known Stephen since he was in elementary school. He and my son grew up together as friends and partners in crime and good stuff for a long time through elementary, middle school, high school, and college, and even started their careers together. They're both musicians, and they worked together as in the music and sound department for Microsoft gaming company in Dallas at the time called Ensemble Studios. Stephen actually has over 2 decades of experience in writing and recording soundtracks for games. He also has music that he has produced, albums that he has produced, and just a highly talented guy, and he chose to hang out with some really cool people also through his life. So it was just such fun. But a few weeks ago, I heard from my son about an event that Stephen did with his kids at home, and they lived in the Dallas area in Allen, Texas. And Stephen and Courtney worked together to put together what they called an international day because Stephen's two kids were home, and he was having to be teacher and parent and try to keep things going. And since that is the topic of this whole broadcast, teachers for teachers, that's you, mom and dad. I just thought Stephen, as the dad of these two kids, could tell us that story. So, Stephen, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about your history and introduce us to Courtney as well. And then let's talk about International Day and where you took those Rippy kids on International Day.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Thanks for the kind words, and thanks for holding back the stories. So that's a bit of a relief. No, like you were saying, with all of the changes that are going on right now, it's been hard to keep the kids interested and engaged when they're not having to do whatever school work they were doing. And being in Texas, it's kind of temperature prohibitive to go outside a lot of the time. So Courtney and I were talking about some things that we could do just on the weekends. And one of the things that we have in common is that we both like to travel. And she had the idea, well, what if we just did a travel day here? What does that look like? And so we brainstormed over a few weeks and picked kind of the obvious place for us was France. Courtney is fluent in French.
Close enough. I can hold a conversation and get medicine over there if I need to.
Fluent enough to fool me anyway. And, we had both spent some time there and had at least, some firsthand experience with it. So we just planned out, the sort of thing that we could put together in a day and make it fun and interesting for the kids.
I think you put a few slides together to show us, to talk us through the process. You want to start that?
Sure.
Brandon, can you?
So you can't see them here on Zoom, but you can on the broadcast. So since you know what they are, maybe you could describe them in a way that the panel here can hear them through your description.
Sure.
Or
Yeah.
see them through your description.
Well, let me think what was at the beginning there, or I'll just walk through the day, and I think that we can probably just match what's there.
I think it started with food, Stephen, right? Food.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, at least we all started thinking about it with food.
That's right. You want to talk a little bit about what we put together?
Yeah, so one of the main things.
We can't hear you very well, Courtney.
Now? A little better? What we decided to do was break it into a food, an activity, a movie, and not have it take the full day. We started about noon, 1 o'clock, so you could still kind of dive into the day, and we could run errands and get the fresh food for dinner. Since we did Paris or France, a lot of it is like cheese, so let's do a cheese board. And then my family on holiday.
Oh, we lost sound altogether.
Any better now?
Yes.
Okay. So in my family, we put all of the food on the kitchen island, and we just say you can graze, eat to whatever you want, and that had a really pretty layout of foods. I think there was a photo of some of the French soda or French lemonade. We had champagne, why not? And then, but there was cheese and crackers, croissants, bread products, and everyone liked it. It was something for everybody, but just we plated everything, we decorated the house, the kids were in the bedroom, and we said, now you're ready to come out. And they could come out, and it was all decorated. The food was out, so right when you get to a party, you want to know where the food and drink is. So we had that ready, but they had to pass through passport control as
That's right.
well.
That's right. So when we were setting everything up, I had the kids go to one of their rooms. We set up the decorations and everything, and then I changed clothes, walked in, and said, "Hey, we're getting ready to land. Everyone, get your passports, and we need to go through customs." And so we had these little fake passports that I found on Amazon, little with stickers that you could do stamps. And we walked out of the room, and Courtney was there at passport control, and she would only speak to them in French, and so they were bewildered, wondering why suddenly they couldn't talk to their friend Courtney. But we stamped the passports, and they got through, and then everything was out for them. And we just kind of let them pick at that for a while. meantime, we had set up 2 laptop stations, and these were kind of some of the activities that we wanted to do. One was Babel, yes?
Babbel.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the language website. I have a subscription, so we put that on there for beginner, and then you can play around with that if you wanted.
Yeah, so they could sit in front of the laptop and then, get a word and then speak it, and it would tell them if they were doing well. And then the other one was in a different part of the room. I had gone online and found there's like a really distinctive streets sign style in France. And so I printed up that and kind of just blanked over it and just figured out a few words that I could put up, like the French word for oven or exit or father.
Son.
Yeah.
How old are the
the
kids,
kids?
Stephen?
Oh, my daughter is 13 and my son is 8. So that's another
Excellent.
trick too, is balancing something that they can both get something out of. But so with the word game, they would have the word in French, and then it was set up next to Google Translate. So they would have to then look it up, translate it to English, and then go find it in the house and attach it to whatever it was. And I printed up 20, something like that, and I wish I had done 100 because they really took to that. I don't know why, and it surprised us a little bit, I think, but they love that part of it. So they would
You thought that was the drier educational part of what you were putting together, and they were the one that
they
loved
something
it.
to me, so I guess that was part of the fun, and that kept them occupied for a while.
That sounds great. So,
Yeah.
when you talk about having decorated the house, what else besides the street sign idea did they see?
Well, Courtney brought half of her house over in terms of Eiffel Towers and
It's true. I moved here for a day. I didn't realize how many Eiffel Towers I have at my house until French Day. And then I had a cafe table and chairs, so we brought that as well. Made it like a little cafe. I had a whiteboard, so I put that behind the table. And you said, like kind of our itinerary for the day of, we will do activities, and then this is what our food will be, and then this will be the movie we'll watch, and this is what dinner will be. So they could look and see the itinerary. And people can go as long or as short as they want. Like I said, we started about like 12, 1 o'clock. Sprinkled in activities, food right off the bat. Moved into a movie. We found, Ratatouille. So,
we had wanted to do a movie that was going to be dubbed in French, but we couldn't quickly find something, so we just went to Ratatouille, which at least takes place in Paris. And I would recommend that anybody doing this build in a break time for the adults, because it really helped to be able to sit down and not do something for a couple of hours. And they were still having fun with watching the movie. I know that was a good nap for you, yeah.
Well, I also see the educators in the community, which is our whole panel, doing a lot of nodding. So let's go first to Marcella Klein-Williams. You're muted, Marcella.
Oh, I think this is just fantastic. I love the ingenuity of pulling it in, and kind of what a great example it is for other folks to emulate. It actually seems kind of really easy to just kind of pull it around the theme, have a meal, and pull in different attributes of that travel. So great.
Yeah, it was fun, and we didn't want to. We wanted to keep it affordable as well, so I was surprised at how many. I found a huge French flag on Amazon, and it was like $5, and it's great. You stick that up, and it's like, wow, now that helps. So we tried to keep it affordable as well, and I was surprised at how many little things that you could kind of theme for not much money. We concentrated our money on the cheese board.
it is true.
Do you think you could give a rough idea of the budget you worked with to do this day?
Did the whole thing for about $150 or something like that, and again, that's scalable depending on how much you want to throw at it. But for the 4 of us, it seemed like a pretty good budget for it.
And you can reuse the passports for the next international day we have.
Stephen, what was the reaction from the kids?
They knew about it beforehand, and so they were excited about it, and they were looking forward to it for a few weeks beforehand. As I said, when they came out of the bedroom, they were befuddled, but just because it was weird and everything looked different. But they really got into it, and we did the language stuff, and we did the first eating, and then the movie, and kind of the last thing that we did before dinner was I had spent some time just finding, kind of backgroundy pictures of Paris and also of the countryside, and just collected them together, and we were showing them on the TV. It's like a slideshow while we were just having the day. And then Courtney had brought berets, and we bought some fake mustaches and all this kind of stuff. So we dressed up and then just took pictures in front of the TV with the background, and it actually wound up being a pretty good photo booth. So that was the last kind
That's a
of
good idea.
piece of that, and that also worked better than I expected.
That was an unexpected hit. Both of the kids got into it. His son was a little shorter, so we had a step stool so he could be in Paris for the day. We could see the Eiffel Tower and not just this much.
Yeah.
But it was great. We have a couple pictures. I don't know which ones they have, but of Stephen and his son with, the Eiffel Tower in the back. And then there's one of us reading books with the tops of the apartments, and it actually worked out really well.
It was fun. My daughter wanted nothing to do with that. She wanted to be in a huge croissant, so we found some croissant pictures, and she was just in there, which I don't know what that came from, but she was happy.
Yeah.
Well, this fits so well with all of our philosophy. Oh, I think I'm talking away while I'm muted. That fits well with all of our interest in playful learning and helping kids be educated without knowing at all times that they're being educated. I saw a lot of head nodding going on. Tim, did you have any thoughts or questions on this?
One question. Tell me again how old your kids are, please.
My daughter is 13 and my son is 8.
Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty broad spread. So you have to kind of put some care into choosing, things like the entertainment. I'm thinking I've got 3 teenagers in the house, and I'm thinking if we do this, we could watch Saving Private Ryan, which would probably not be so great for an 8-year-old.
Right. That's exactly right. It's they're kind of, especially by this point, being in the house together all the time, they're kind of used to having to have their interests butt up against each other. But yeah, we definitely had to think about that.
I think that's about the educational spread that you have, isn't it, Jamie?
Yes, pretty close to that. And it's interesting. What a fantastic project, first of all. That is so lovely and so much fun, it sounds like. And the pictures look like everybody was really enjoying themselves. And that is a decent spread in age. It's hard to accommodate that kind of spread. And it sounds like you've done a wonderful job. When I think about it, I can't help but have my teacher hat on. And I start thinking about, France could be a whole week. What if we were building something out of Lego, or because I think I have a 6-year-old and an 11-year-old, and so trying to get those together. So I'm thinking my 11-year-old is researching a famous landmark and going to tell us about that, and my 6-year-old is drawing or building out of Lego something that he's seen and can tell us about it. Yeah. But it's fascinating. I hadn't thought about doing something international like that, and it seems like you can make it as big or as quaint as you want. And I loved the green screen idea. Those pictures look like you're in Paris. It's so fabulous. And how much fun for the kids. And man, a fake mustache will go a long way in entertainment right now, let me tell you.
Especially for an 8-year-old.
Fake mustache, but
could recognize him. He really took it to heart.
To your point, so we want to do other countries as we go forward in the summer and fall, and asking the kids what they wanted to do. My daughter picked Japan next, and you've been, I've never been. We have a lot less personal experience with it, but she's really into anime, so one of the activities that we want to do there is we can all take turns drawing anime and all learn a little something, I guess, from that. But so so it'll, the concept is the same, but the individual things, like you're saying, can change quite a bit.
Yeah,
And also as a teacher, I hope you've saved a list of all the things in your house so you can just enter the list into Google Translate rather than having to come up with that list over and over again. And then save all the translations, you can use them later. This is good stuff.
I better take notes.
Yeah, one thought on if you're when you do Japan, I've done Japan with my students, and there are some good free resources online for how to draw Pokemon. And the nice thing about drawing Pokemon is that it doesn't need to look realistic because they're just, they come in all kinds of weird shapes. So for younger kids in particular, drawing Pokemon is a lot less intimidating than trying to draw, I don't know, Princess Mononoke or something, and then getting the legs wrong.
Right. Yeah. Well, if I know my son, he's going to want to draw like Sony Electronics instead of anime. But yes, I think that's a great tip.
And Mark, what country will you be taking us to?
Oh, I'd go straight for Santa Ana because that's about the most exotic locale I can think of. No, but I was thinking just, for the sake of parents, I think, it sounds like glorious fun, and that, that clearly anything with a cheese plate is big in my book. But I was thinking, as a parent, it's I think the best thing you shared was that the pressure's off because the stuff that you thought was going to be too dry was one of the things that activated their imagination and got them going, And I think when you're planning stuff like this with kids, if you're not going, I can't possibly do that because, and make up a bunch of reasons instead of just trying it out and seeing what works, then you're missing some opportunities. And so I'm glad you ran with it, and hope you do some other stuff that you think is dull that they'll actually find quite engaging.
Well, it might be a unique opportunity, the time that we're in, just because I think the kids are starved for something different, because the days are so similar from one to the next these days that, anything is a welcome change. And that's certainly the case for me, and I would imagine for them as well.
And Dr. Dejana, I saw in the chat that you're planning to do this now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I heard about this topic, I kind of did a little pilot test at my house with my 3 kids. I have quite a big spread. I have an 8-year-old and my oldest is 14. So there's kind of a big spread there, but the kids decided they wanted to go alphabetically through countries. And so our first country was, I'm going to say it wrong, Azerbaijani. No, that's the name of the language, Azerbaijan. And so they picked some random country that we didn't know anything about, and you can do it kind of low tech. So I'm not kind of in the kitchen cooking type, but I live in Los Angeles. All I had to do was Google Azerbaijani restaurant and hello, takeout. So in addition to us, we explored the music of the different countries. So that was kind of fun. So we tried to imitate their music with our piano and our steel drum. It was kind of fun. But it's kind of a really cool thing. And I'm thinking I'm going to continue to do this. And I also am thinking about, as a teacher, how could I adapt something like this for my students in a distance learning platform? How can I create my space and turn it into something magical for them, that it translates through the screen, that they're also experiencing a really cool, exploration of something new. So not only am I inspired as a parent, I'm inspired as an educator. Thank you guys so much for sharing this really cool, fun activity. And like you said, Stephen, we are always looking for something different or something new to get these days to just kind of go by. And so much learning. I think we're gonna have a good time. I'll stay tuned for my 14-year-old and how he responds.
Tim, I saw you had something to say.
Yeah, just want tailgating on what Dejana is saying. One thing that might be good, I haven't tried this yet, but that occurs to me, might be good for getting students online fired up about other countries. There's a guy named Rick Steves who did a travel show. It's pretty kid friendly because he had young kids, and sometimes his kids were there with him on his trips, and would just go to countries and just a lot of good visuals. He doesn't get too much into the history. It's fast paced, So I think I think most of it's on YouTube if you look for it. So you could send you send your kids links. Here's a trip down the Rhine River, and then we're going to read. Which would be great to go with, for example, if you're doing Grimm's fairy tales for your for your reading unit. Send a video of here's traveling down the Rhine River in some of the towns where these stories happened.
Good idea. I mean, and that's kind of how you travel too. You get hyped up beforehand, so it would be maybe like if you're doing it at home the night before, everybody sits around and watches the Rick Steves of wherever you're going.
And I think you can also have the kids draw out the background and the mood creators for each. Because many of our parents and families are not going to have any budget. Even the $150 will be a stretch, especially during everything that's going on. But kids can draw out the Eiffel Tower on cardboard and hang it. There are so many ways to do this without spending money. But it's such a brilliant idea.
Brilliant idea. It's going to be so much fun. I'm already thinking about some sort of kind of where in the world is Dr. Figueroa, and send them links to watch different videos of different places, and then try and set up my place and have the students guess where in the world am I today. If I'm eating cheese and I have my beret on, where might I be?
Right.
Very good. And thank you so much for bringing Courtney and Stephen to our attention. You're muted. It is Zoom. Nope, there you are. Now we have you.
Okay, I've been back and forth. I wonder just real quickly, given that we've got Tim and Stephen, both terrific musicians, the role of music in this whole thing. Is there a place for that, and how do you work that in?
I thought the idea of having them try to imitate the music was a great one. As it was for us on the day, we just had kind of French cafe music playing in the background. My kids in particular get a lot of it, and I don't know how excited they would be if Dad brought another music-related project to them.
Got it.
So I think in our particular case, it was just about right to have it on as background. But yeah, I mean, that's a whole different avenue you could explore.
Yeah.
Well, I highly recommend the Monster in Paris for background French music. It's an animated show with an awesome soundtrack.
Right.
And Tim, you've used music in education for quite a while, and still through Griffin Ed.
Yeah. But yeah, if you don't play an instrument, it's easy enough to do. Just go on Spotify or YouTube or wherever and just input music from France, music from Azerbaijan, and just have it on as a little bit of background while the kids are drawing pictures of some of the things they see there. One thing not quite music related though that I wanted to share that I found as a teacher, particularly in today's social and political climate. One thing I really like to do with my students when we're talking about another country is finish up by looking at the United States and see what is there in our culture that comes from that country. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many things we think of as uniquely American that in fact came from somewhere else. Like oh boy, that's just as American as hot dogs and apple pie, except that of course hot dogs come from Germany, apple pie is from the Dutch, and all these other things that we take for granted as American. And right now, for most of our history, we've always had this conflict going between, on the one hand, we are Americans and we prize that, but on the other hand, we also welcome a lot of influences from other countries, even though we often don't recognize we're doing it. And in the current climate of xenophobia, I think it is doubly important that we recognize the role other countries have played in shaping our culture.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you to everyone. Dejana, this is the end of our half hour today. I do want to point out just before we say goodbye that Nolan Bushnell, the founder of Atari, is going to join us on Wednesday. And we are going to talk about screen time and gamifying education and what that means in the pandemic.
Right on.
Well, you guys, what can I say? It's always a joy to come together and have conversations about how we can just engage in playful learning and support one another. I'm Dr. Dejana. I want to thank our entire panel and our guest speakers today. Thank you so much for bringing that to the table in the conversation. I'm here with my dear friend, Dr. Leah, and that